All right, we got to talk about one of the most uncomfortable storylines surrounding the Detroit Lions right now, because it's something fans in Detroit didn't really expect to be discussing this early in a young player's career. And it's the situation involving Terrion Arnold. When the Lions drafted him in the first round of the 2024 NFL draft, the expectation was pretty simple. This guy was supposed to become the shutdown corner that defense had been searching for. He came out of Alabama with elite credentials. He had big-time SEC experience, swagger, and the belief that he could anchor the Lions secondary for years. I saw him come out. I was there. He comes out on stage. He takes the hat. He's carrying on. This is going to be you don't know what you're getting. Best pick of your life, yada, yada, yada. But here we are, not even 2 full seasons later. And instead of talking about him becoming a star, we're talking about struggles, injuries, legal issues, bad ones, by the way, and the very real possibility that his future in Detroit could be coming to a halt. And the reason this conversation is even happening right now is because the hype hasn't matched the production. Arnold came into this league with a ton of expectations, and to be fair, that's what happens when you're a first-round pick. But Detroit believed that he had the talent to step in immediately and help fix one of the defense's biggest weaknesses, the pass defense. And I'm not going to knock on Brad Holmes right now. I know some people do. He's done a good job in the drafts. And maybe they were thinking, we're not going to get any free agents for defense. We're not going to pay anybody a ton of money. We're going to use some first-round picks, and we're going to start getting guys. What do you do when that didn't work? What do you do when you've got a Terrion Arnold, first-round pick? Early on, the results haven't been there. During the 2025 season, opposing quarterbacks consistently targeted him, and the numbers reflected that. And at one point early in the season, he allowed a passer rating of over 130 when targeted and ranked near the bottom of qualifying quarterbacks in coverage grades. Terrion Arnold, man, it's not good. And things just got even more complicated, by the way. And I'm sure this is what some of you are listening for. Arnold's season was cut short after just 8 games because of a shoulder injury that eventually required surgery and ended his year in December. Just a few months ago. And while injuries happen, especially in the NFL, I don't think any of us are shocked by that. It meant another season from Arnold where Lions fans didn't get to see the kind of consistent development they expected from a first-round defensive back. So instead of taking that year 2 leap, Arnold spent the second half of the year rehabbing and trying to reset. And now we have other struggles that aren't on-field struggles or injuries. Now we have off-season problems, a situation that became far more serious when Arnold's name surfaced in connection with a reported kidnapping and robbery investigation. Are you kidding me? Guys in his 20s getting paid millions of dollars. You are supposed to be healing up, young man. And even though this legal process is still playing out and he has maintained that he's innocent, the mere association with that kind of situation is something the Lions organization takes very seriously. Any NFL team would. This is a team that has made it very clear under Campbell and general manager Brad Holmes that culture matters. Toughness, accountability, and character are core principles of the program they built in Detroit. And we've seen before how quickly the Lions are going to act if they feel a player doesn't meet those standards. For a minute there, I thought Jameson Williams was going to be out the door. Just look at how they handled previous off-field situations in recent years. This front office has shown that no matter how talented a player might be, they're willing to move on if they think that player threatens the locker room culture. So even if Arnold avoids legal consequences from this nonsense, there's still a very real possibility about how the organization handles the situation moving forward in terms of just cutting him. Then you add another layer to this, the Lions roster reality. Detroit is in win now mode. This is not rebuilding anymore. We're past that. They've been knocking on the door of a Super Bowl. And when you're a contender, patience with underperforming first-round picks start to shrink. The Lions don't have time to wait 3 or 4 years for a cornerback to figure things out or to clean his behavior up. They need production right now. And that's why you're starting to hear more conversations around Detroit about the possibility, even if it still seems extreme, that the Lions could eventually decide to move on from Arnold. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not opposed to it. If you can get the sense from me that I'm not thrilled about all this, I'm not. Very lackluster 2 seasons, first round pick, and now this? Kidnapping? Home invasion? Maybe it is a trade. Maybe it's simply bringing in competition and reducing his role. And in the most drastic scenario, if things continue to spiral, I don't even know if anybody has patience for that at this point. There's always the nuclear option. Just cut him completely. That would be shocking for a recent first-round pick. But in the NFL, we've seen it happen before. What makes this story so interesting is that it's happening during an offseason where the Lions secondary is already in flux. Injuries and uncertainty across the defensive backfield have created a situation where Detroit desperately needs stability at cornerback. They've got other problem positions right now with RB2, replacing Decker, which I'm going to get into in my next segment, and the old line. Arnold, the player who was supposed to be the long-term solution for that role, is suddenly one of the biggest question marks. We have a problem on our hands now. And that creates a strange dynamic for this team. On one hand, you want to believe that Arnold can still turn it around. Maybe in year 3, albeit this legal stuff goes to bed and he doesn't get anything from it. The talent that made him a first-round pick didn't just disappear overnight. I mean, at Alabama, he showed elite instincts, physical coverage skills, an ability to compete with top receivers. We watched the tape after they drafted him. Obviously, there's the argument that plenty of corners struggle early in the NFL and then develop into stars later. I mean, this is a position that's notoriously difficult to adjust to. But on the other hand, this is a production business. At some point, potential stops mattering and results start mattering more. And when analysts around the league start throwing around the word bust for a former first-round pick, that's when the pressure really ramps up. So the big question now is this. What does the 2026 season mean for Terrion Arnold? Because in a lot of ways, it's shaping up to be a make-or-break year. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to prove he can consistently cover NFL-caliber receivers. And most importantly, he needs to rebuild trust inside the organization. This legal stuff, it shouldn't even be anywhere near him. If he comes back and plays like the corner the Lions thought they drafted, physical, confident, capable of shutting down one side of the field, then this whole conversation goes away. Just forget everything I said. Suddenly, he's part of Detroit's long-term defensive core, and the Lions' investment looks smart again. But if this continues at all, the pressure's only going to grow louder. I mean, Detroit has championship aspirations, and teams chasing a Super Bowl don't keep waiting on players who aren't delivering. Whether it's through the draft, free agency, or trades, the Lions are going to do whatever they have to do to fix weaknesses on this roster. And that's what makes this situation so fascinating, because Terrion Arnold still has the chance to flip the narrative completely. He could come back around next season and prove everybody wrong. He could prove me wrong. But right now, the reality is this. A player who was supposed to be a cornerstone of the Lions defense is instead one of the biggest question marks on the entire roster. And in a city like Detroit, where expectations are higher than they've been in decades, that's a storyline that isn't going away anytime soon. Keep it locked. You're listening to Midnight Sports Detroit.